Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at Umebura Sp9 is the second super major of the weekend, as well as being the return of Umebura, which is overall pretty exciting. We have Akala as the first seed, Mia as the second, T as the third, Shuton as the fourth, Hiro and Yoshidora as the fifth, Aaron and Kameme as the seventh. Ninth place is going to be Zachary, Hikaru, Ken, and Asimo, and 13th is going to be Kome, Abenango, Gact, and Repo. So you can see it is fairly stacked, and also before I forget to mention, we also have AC here, who is another super notable American player, as well as Jadel. Those are probably the biggest travelers, unless there's another one that I just forgot to mention. Hopefully I didn't, but it's going to be exciting to see how they do. We're going to start off with AC, and he has to fight T really early on, which is super unfortunate, assuming he can get through Alice, which I think could be tough, because Alice is very good, but also AC is absolutely incredible. His character combination is also very strong. Like, I think he'll have a decent chance, as well as Meta Knight having a lot of success in Japan, as well as Snake, so he might have some pretty good characters for him. T, I think, is going to be a pretty tough draw, to be honest, because, like, T is just incredible. Shogun, I think he probably does beat, just because, again, he is a very good Snake player, but maybe there's a world that we see the Shogun Fox as well. We could see Fox Meta Knight, so that could be interesting. And then he has to play against Futari. Now, AC is very good at Snake, and it is Ice Climbers, and even though Big D beat Apollo Kage at main stage, he shouldn't have been able to do that. So AC probably should beat Futari if they both get to this part of the bracket. And then for Ken, still a little hard. I think he can do it, but I think AC could definitely overperform if everything leads up to here and it's him versus Futari. I think he's a really high chance there. JJ is supposed to lose to Umeki, which is pretty tough, but you also have a very good Peach in Australia. Oh, I forget their name. Hold on. Now, Jay Dizzle is 12-0 versus a very good Peach player in Australia named Zav, so I think there's a pretty good shot that he has a chance against Umeki. He definitely knows the matchup, which is always promising, but also Umeki has been on an absolute tear recently, and that's even if Umeki is in loser side, because I think there's a pretty strong chance that Umeki could beat Repo. Granted, Repo's kind of crazy, so I don't really know how that's going to go. Takai could also make an upset. So I think this part is way less predictable than the AC part. Like, if AC and Futari make their, AC should win. Whereas Jadizel Umeki, I think probably won't happen, to be honest. I feel like one of the upsets happens. And also, I just don't really know who's going to win because Umeki's been on a tear. But I think Jadizel has a pretty good shot. And the final American player we're going to be talking about is going to be Aaron. Aaron has to fight Akala, Hikaru, and then before that he has to fight either Shisho or I am, as well as Tora. Now, Tora is very hard because Tora's really good, criminally understated, to be honest, just because, like, he doesn't have a lot of results, but he is incredible. And I think if Aaron is going to get upset at any point in the tournament, it's probably going to be right there because he should take it over both Shishu and I am, especially Shishu. Like, that is Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario's not bottom tier anymore, still a bad low tier though. Like, the character is not good. He should do it. Hikaru as well. I feel like he should win. It's Donkey Kong or Roy, and he has a lot of experience versus Roy, and the other one is Donkey Kong. But also, like, Hikaru has bested top 10 players in the world with the DK, so nothing is, of course, impossible. I do think Aaron will still take that. And then versus Akala, I'm not 100% sure, because I think Diddy actually does decent against Steve, at least in contrast to most characters. I still think Akala probably takes it, but I wouldn't count Aaron out completely. And then let's say he does lose, though, into the loser's side. He has to go against Asimo, and Asimo is really good. But I still think Aaron could honestly etch it out, because Aaron is just... We haven't seen a lot from him recently. I don't think he's been to a tournament in a little bit. But Aaron is incredible. He is such an amazing player. I hope he's been getting that practice in Japan against different playstyles. I also think American playstyle, like Aaron, could do pretty well in Japan. So I could definitely see him getting top 8. I don't think the top 8 is that much of an overseed at all. I'd probably put him either top 8 or, like, he might be like a 9th seed behind, like, Zach Ray, but just, like, I get it because Zach Ray has been underperforming a decent amount lately. So Aaron is an absolutely unreal player. I think he deserves that seed, and I think he's probably going to get it. Him beating Yoshidora is going to be tough. I think that's honestly his hardest matchup just because Yoshidora is unreal, but it's not impossible. I think Aaron has a very good chance to do well this tournament, and I think out of all the invaders to overperform their seeds, I would probably still guess AC just because that Futari matchup is just so good for him, as well as being able to make other upsets in the other parts of the bracket. But I wouldn't be surprised if all the invaders did absolutely insane, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they all underperformed, because, again, it's the land of Japan. Everyone there is kind of insane. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard fought, but I hope that we have some players doing well in NA. Maybe some NA people are like, oh, all these NA players do really well. We should start traveling to Japan because it's free, and then we can say NA in Japan, because that's really all I want. Huge shout outs to all the people traveling, and now we can move on to some of the more local Japanese talent. Up next, there's a couple Japanese players that I want to highlight just because they've been doing incredibly well recently, and I think they can make a couple runs, starting with Yara. I think Yara is incredible. He first has to fight up against Now, who I think he does beat, and then he has to go against Ken, which I think he has a very good chance against, and then it would be Yoshidora, which is a little tough, but still, I think it is not impossible. Like, Yara is unreal, another level. The only reason he's seated so low is just because he hasn't had a ton of results. And then up next, he has to play against, I believe it's Canonabe. I actually pretty sure I'm butchering that pronunciation, but he's like a very good Fox player, second best Fox in Japan probably. He's on the rise right now, doing very well for himself. And then he has to play against Masa and Osimo. Masa is probably, out of all the opponents, he's supposed to beat his toughest one. I mean, he is seated the highest, so it makes sense. But Masa is very, very good. I do think Tora can, or Yara rather, can still beat him. Osimo is going to be tough, but I think it is still winnable. I think Yara is incredible, but he's probably going to beat Ken. In my opinion, that is one of the upsets I'm actually expecting to happen. No offense to Ken. Obviously, I think Ken is very, very good. I just think Yara has that dog in him. Yara is so incredible, in contention for best Samus in the world right now. Like, the way he plays this game is absolutely unreal, and I think he could absolutely make a run. Up next is going to be Tsubaki. We just saw him have an Unreal Japan 24, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 16 of this event, because he is really good. He does have to start off fighting Mia, which he will probably lose to. Mia is really good, but I think he could have an incredible loser's run. I think he has a very good shot against Canonabe, who he is seated under. I think he definitely can get that upset in that Joker-Fox matchup. Granted, Canonabe is still very, very good, but I think Tsubaki has a very good shot. And then, unfortunately, he does go right into Yara. So one of the players I'm projecting to have in a crazy run just isn't going to have it. But I still think that he has a very good chance. Also, he'll probably go against Ken here, which I think he has a very good shot against Ken. I just think Tsubaki is he's on another caliber. He's like one of those up-and-coming players that just has so much unreal potential. The tournament stamina that he showed at Japan 24 gives me so much faith in him. His movement is unbelievable. His gun usage is incredible. I really think that he could make a deep run here. I do think he's a little underseeded, but then again, doesn't have a lot of results, so it isn't that big of a deal. But I could super see Tsubaki overscoring his seed by like a couple slots. And the next player we're going to be talking about is Aka. I think Aka is a little bit underseeded, even though he did have a rough, I think it was a Subageki and maybe one more after. I just think he's unreal. He could get the upset over Masa. Upset over Shutone is a whole different story. Shutone kind of gave him the business at winner. Not impossible, but it's going to be very tough. But I think he has a very good chance to make an absolutely incredible loser run. Starting with All-Tech, he should be able to take that matchup. And then he goes into Niatono, which is actually pretty tough because Pichu is just like really good and Niatono is crazy. Not like really good, but the way Pichu is played by Niatono, that is like art. So I think he can make that upset. And then I actually do think he probably beats Atorie. At least just like, I do think he was looking a little shaky at Japan 24. Obviously, Atorie has a very high ceiling. But if he's not playing with that consistency, he could get upset earlier on, maybe by Now. But I do think that Aka could take Now and Atorie. And I also think Aka could take Hikaru. I think Aka, out of all the players that we've mentioned, has the most potential to make an absolutely crazy, super deep run, and he and as well as AC are going to be the two players that I am predicting to overperform their seed. Obviously, I think Tora and, Yara and Tsubaki could overperform their seeds as well. I just want to, you got to pick two, and these one are in the way of each other, so I'm not going to pick one because that's lame. So those are the two players I want to pick, and we're going to be moving on now to the final 16. But if there's any players that I haven't talked about, because I've only talked about 6, and it's a super major, there's a lot to talk about. Other players that they could make runs to overperform their seed by a couple slots. I think honestly Takai could, Riziasu definitely could, Masa honestly, Shiryuki definitely could. Like, there's a bunch of amazing talent here. We're not going to be able to cover everyone. Unfortunately, we're going to move on to top 16 now, like I said. But if there's anyone that you guys want me to talk about, please let me know down below, and I'll be sure to mention them. But now we're finally ready to talk about the top 16, and of course we're going to be using the Google Sheet made for us by ICOOKIEMONSTERZ. A link to their Twitter will be in the description down below, as it always is when we make these type of videos, because this list is just like, it's just very, very helpful. And we're also going to be using all the seeds as they are predicted to be, so there's like a couple upsets that may happen. It's not actually going to be what the top 16 looks like. Again, Yara will probably be in here at some fashion, but just for simplicity's sake and so we can include all these super top players, we're going to be talking about how it is seeded. And starting off with Akala Abadango, I do think Akala is probably going to take that. Again, these are all 3-0, by the way. I'm not going to do the specifics of the matches because, God help me, I'm not even going to get that close. I think Aaron probably over Hikaru, Shutone over Kome. I honestly think for all the first matches, first rounds, I think every single one of them is as seeded except Zachary Kameme. Now, Zachary Kameme, it is 4-1 in Zachary's favor, and it is like 1-1 in recent history, I think, which is interesting. I do think that Zachary will probably win it. He just is like, Zachary is very good with Sora. He's won a major with Sora. He's the only player in the world to win a major with Sora right when the character came out. So it just kind of proves like he knows what to do with this character. He knows how it works. Granted, that's very early meta Sora, but he gets the basic game plan of it. And also, like, he just had a very good history versus the Mega Man as well. Mega Man is a character that does very well against Joker, so we might see like Mega Man, Rob, Mega Man, Joker, Sora, Rob, like any combination of those characters. Maybe we see the Sheiks. They both have Sheiks. Like, this could be a lot of different matchups, but I do think Zachary will take it. Abadongo versus Hikaru is going to be tough. I just think Abba's characters do so well against Hikaru. Like, let's say Hikaru plays DK, Abadongo picks Pikachu, and or Palu, or Samus, honestly, or Meta Knight, and it's like, he should win. Again, it's Hikaru. He never should win because he's playing DK, but he always manages to. I think I am still going to bet Abadongo, though, just because of how good the matchups are. Kome Ken, hold on, let me check the record for them, actually. So I knew this was skewed in one of their favors. I just forgot which one, but it is for Ken. He is 6-1 versus Kome. So it's probably going to be 7-1 if history repeats itself. Now, Kome did get the 1. He can get the 2nd, but again, probably going to be Ken here. Repo Kameme, I do think Kameme closes it out just because, like, Kameme was the best Mega Man in the world at one point, like top 10 arguably with the character. So he probably knows what Mega Man is going to do. That gives him a huge edge. And also just Kameme is kind of crazy. And then Gact Osimo. I just think Osimo has been on another level recently. But also Gact is just like a super consistent top level player that can make the upset. I still think it's going to be Osimo. But again, for all of these, nothing is impossible. That's why you got to love current alts, because anyone can win at any moment. For winners round 2, I'm not betting against Aquila. I'm not going to be made a fool. But Aaron can do it. Don't get me wrong. Aaron can do it. But betting against Aquila is way too hard. And then we have Shutone versus Yoshidora. And I don't believe Shutone and Yoshidora have ever played before. Let me pull that up. Okay, so I was actually lying. They've played 3 times, and though Shutone did take it the last time, Yoshidora did take it the 2 times before. Now, this is, granted, in the same tournament. I don't know who to bet here. I'm probably going to bet Shutone, even though he had an underperformance at Kyojin Dojo, like where he got like 3rd, which is like boohoo. But I just think Shutone's been on such a tear recently. Not impossible for Yoshidora, of course. This is, like, out of all of these, probably the one I'm the least confident on. But I still think Shutone gets it. And then we have Mia Zachary, which is a matchup that we were deprived of at, I think it was Meisuma top 10? I forget which one Zachary performed and Mia got 2nd, but they were seen to play each other. Zachary got like super upset and it never happened, and now we get the rematch that we better actually get this time. Please don't dodge. And this, I don't know. I'm probably going to guess Zachary, though, just because his Game & Watch is very, very good. And when you don't have that player matchup, it always helps that if you know the character in and out. Plus, Zachary having, like, 3 characters to choose from that I all think do at least decent enough versus Game & Watch. I think Zachary has a very good chance. Sorry, I had some mic issues there, but the final one is T versus Hito, and I do think T does take that just because he's been on such a tear as of late. Like, he is such a top-level threat right now. His Kazuya is very, very clean, and that's honestly probably the matchup we'll see, because I feel like T's had some, like, struggles to Bowser in the past. Like, I remember, like, I think it was, like, at Run It Back, he lost, like, a C tier to, like, Leon. Now, granted, that's, like, 2 years ago, and the meta has definitely evolved way more for Pac-Man than it has for Bowser, but it's still something to consider. I think we'll maybe see Kazuya, maybe we'll see Pac-Man. I don't think it really matters which one we'll see. I think T will probably take that set just because, like, God, T is so, so good. But again, so is Hito, so it could go either way. On to Losers 9th, our first matchup is Hito versus Abadongo, and I still think Abadongo's matchup spread versus Hito is pretty good, but it's not as good as it is versus DK, and when you're playing against Hito, you need it to be very, very good. Like, you need to be having him at like a -3 matchup for you to even have a chance. Hito is on a different level of Bowser play. I don't know how I literally look at his gameplay and I don't know how he does it. It is crazy the amount of stuff he is covering, and I do think he takes it over Abadongo. Mia as well, I think he takes it over Ken. Just Mia's level of consistency has been higher as average. He's hitting these higher highs. He's been winning majors consistently, and also, like, God, it's hard to bet against Mia, but also at Kyojin Dojo, we had Ken do incredibly well, so maybe he makes the comeback here if he even gets sent to losers bracket at all. Yoshidora versus Kameme. I mean, I'm not a foolish man. I would never put Yoshidora out before top 8, but then again, that means I'm putting Kameme out before top 8, which feels really low for him, but, like, I think Zachary has he's a very good shot to take him out, and I think it's probably going to be a ninth place for Kameme, even though he has won an Umebura in the past, so maybe he gets that buff. I don't know how that's going to work in it for him mentally, but I do think Yoshidora probably knocks him out, and then Aaron Osimo, we already talked about that. I do think Aaron will be taking that. Now for loser sevens, we have Hito versus Mia, which is Game & Watch Bowser, which, I mean, come on, let's be realistic. Then we have Yoshidora Aaron, which, again, I did talk about. Not impossible for Aaron, but it's going to be really hard. Playing against Yoshi for the first time is just difficult. Then I already have Zach right here. How'd that happen? I don't know. Algorithm guessed it, but yeah, I'm going to have T over Zach Ray. T is so good. T is absolutely incredible. Zach Ray can beat him. It's not impossible, but I think the Kazuya will do pretty well versus Zach Ray, honestly. Up next is loser 7, starting off with Hito versus Mia, and I think unless something crazy has happened between the time they last played at Maizuma, Mia is probably going to take that, and Yoshidora, Aaron, we already talked about it. I do think Yoshidora takes it. Not impossible for Aaron too, but like Yoshidora is making people think Yoshi is top 10 in the game, which is like he shouldn't be, but also when I look at Yoshidora play, I'm like, okay, maybe it is the character because no man should be able to do all of this stuff. Not impossible for Aaron, of course, he is an unreal player, but I do think it's probably going to be Yoshidora taking. Moving on to the winner's side, we have Akala versus Shutone, and even though Shutone did take it the last time they played at Scuff World Tour, you have to remember, Akala took it in winners, so they are trading sets back and forth consistently, and I think this time it's going to be going to Akala. Akala is really good. And I don't even think he was playing that well at Scuff World Tour, at least relative to how he's normally playing. I feel like we haven't been seeing Akala land these absolutely absurd combos that he used to be landing consistently, and I hope that we can see a little bit of that this weekend. But also Shutone is like just like an unreal player. Like Shutone's neutral is like absolutely unprecedented that it's that good, so it's going to be interesting to see who takes that. It's going to be fairly close, I imagine. Out of all the sets we've gone over, I honestly think this will probably be the closest one. Like, this is going to be a banger. And then Zachary T, I've had to think. I had to pause the recording to think about this one because I just don't know. Because Zachary has it in the past. It's 4-2 in Zachary's favor in the past, but there's been a lot of time since they last played. Last time they played was Kagura before, over 2 years ago now, and T has leveled up massively in that time, and while Zachary has as well, it's not to the extent that T has. I think they haven't played since the Kazuya, and I imagine we probably will see the Kazuya just because Joker Pac-Man is not a matchup that T has found a lot of success in. So I think it probably still goes to Zachary, but I think it's not impossible for T to take it. I think this is probably the best chance. It almost 100% will be with the Kazuya. It's going to be interesting. Maybe it is with the Pac-Man, though, and he can still stick it out because, like, you know, T is incredible. He's won with the Pac-Man before. Obviously, he does have those 2 set wins. I'm not really sure on this one, but I'm going to guess Zachary. Now we have Shutone versus Mia, and the last time they played, it was very close. It was at Kagura BA. I think it was in winners finals, but that set was incredibly close. And now we have them running back again, the first time in a couple months, and obviously Mia has leveled up massively within that time frame. He has gotten a lot better, a lot more consistent, and I wouldn't be surprised again if he does win it out this time. It feels weird for Shutone to be out at 5th, but I think that's the way the cookie is going to crumble. I think Shutone is very good, but I do think Mia is going to be able to take it out over him this time. Then we have T versus Yoshidora. This one is also very tough, but I think T probably takes it. I just think T's playstyle does very good against Yoshi specifically. Like, I feel like against Kazuya as well, you don't really get to abuse that double jump armor as much as you would against some other characters that, like, it doesn't really get you out of that disadvantages free because Kazuya's not really juggling you, you know? He's just kind of hitting you with these insane true death combos, and if you're dying the same with a double jump or without it, then it doesn't really matter. I don't think that made sense, but my point is, the Kazuya combo doesn't care about your Yoshi armor. Up next is Mia versus T, and I'm going to pick T purely for the fact that T is 2-0 on Meister, even though they played 3 years ago. But I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I literally am clueless. I said I don't know how Akala Shutone is going to turn out. I have no idea about this one. T is so hard to predict because he either goes crazy or he gets like brick walled super hard. I think T takes it this time. If Mia takes it, I wouldn't be too shocked. In winners finals, Akala versus Zachary. Now, we've really never seen Zachary versus a super good Steve. The best Steve he's probably played against is probably Shutone Steve, honestly, in like a grand finals of like, I think it was like a local or something. But Shutone Steve did get a set, and Akala Steve is way better than Shutone Steve. So I think Akala's going to get that off that one set alone. I also just think Akala is like, again, he is very good. He's top 3 in the world right now for a reason. That guy is absolutely unreal. And then in the losers finals side, I do think T probably gets the run back with Kazuya. At least that's my prediction. I feel like T in a run back set is very good, but also Zachary is incredible at downloading information. So it could go either way, but I'm going to predict that we have an Akala T in the grand finals. And I think overall, Akala is probably going to steal the tournament. I mean, not steal. I think he's going to win the tournament, and he's going to get second place. And this is pretty much what the top 16 is going to look like, in my opinion. We'll probably have a couple other players in there that, like I mentioned earlier, like I think Yara is not a shoe-in, but I think there's a very good chance he's in there. And then, hold on, let me pick another couple players that I think could also make it. All right, I think we could see Shirayuki in there. I think we could see Umeki in there. I think we could see Masa in there. I think we could see, honestly, Takai. If Takai has a crazy run, it's not impossible. We could see AC, and then if AC loses on, we could see Futari. Like, there's a lot of players that could make insane runs here that just completely screws off. We also have Leah and Sue here, who I haven't seen in a very long time, so I hope they do well. Umebura Sp9 is a super major. It is insanely stacked. I'm very excited for it, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching Sportsman Unreal lately. Again, if there's a player I left out, because we only covered like 20 or so, I forget how many I covered at the start, but please let me know down below. I'll be sure to tell you how I think they're going to do, some matchups that they have that are good and bad. And yeah, thank you for everything. Sportsman Unreal, like I said, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.